So tonight he's showing images and a video from Project Endurance, which he's worked on, where he's been chasing adventure athletes around the world. He's traveled extensively over the last years across continents, documenting some of the toughest adventure races on the planet. And because Wouter primarily shoots directly for the organizers, it has enabled him exclusive access to the athletes in some very remote and unique places. And his strongest collection of images is now being put together in a photo documentary. And this movie-style presentation with interviews and captivating stories and a wide selection of images will provide an insight to what goes on in the world of adventure sports. So for those of you who've asked the question, why do people sign up for these grueling, death-defying races, hopefully you'll find an answer in his presentation.
All right. Thanks very much. Good evening all. First of all, I'd like to thank the Core Photo Plus team and Mohammed for putting on these, well, he's running away now, for putting on these fantastic slideshows and the Slide Fest. I think it's a great platform for many of us to come and show and present our personal projects. So it says here, endless projects. Mine is Project Endurance, chasing adventure athletes around the world. And around the world it has been, and I think I've been pretty blessed and privileged to travel to pretty much most of the continents. So I've put here 3 words: passion, grab and movie. Passion, now personal projects you need to do it because you love it. And I think personal projects you need to do it because it rocks the boat and you become a photographer for a reason. So you just need to go out and shoot the stuff you really enjoy doing. The reason why I call it a personal project, because otherwise Mohammed's not allowed to allow me to talk about it because it's a commercial project. But it's not a great deal of money going into it. A lot of it is helping friends out. It's doing something I really enjoy. It's a very passionate thing for me, something I really, really enjoy. Then it comes to the grab. As you can see now, it's actually got a world map. None of these races were all presented on a silver plate saying, well, you want to come and shoot a race for us? I would basically look at a world map and I'll look at the international racing calendar, and then I say, oh, that sounds interesting. That's going to be an interesting spot. Let's go out and email the race organizer, and then don't always reply, so you've got to give them another email. You've got to keep on calling them, and eventually, I think they just give up. And say, oh, come and shoot the race, and at least you're going to be nice and quiet. So yeah, grab. I think that's for me key to shoot races like this. You've got to go out and sort of make contact. And if this is the stuff you enjoy doing, you just got to go out and fight for it and work it out. Then it comes to movies. I think movies is a little bit of an afterthought. I've been working on this project for 5 years, and there's some of the races that are actually not on the map, so I must have shot about somewhere between 12 and 14 international races. And it must have been in 2008, so I've got all this great content, I've got all these stories, and then up on a hard drive, and some of the work is being used in advertising, some of the work is made into editorials, and then it just collects dust on the hard drive, so it's a shame. So yeah, it must have been early 2008, so well, let's make a movie out of it. I've used still images, glued them all together, and I shot a few more races that summer, so I've got an audio recorder, and started recording interviews of the guys doing the races. So the actual movie is 52 minutes long, and I've cut a couple of things out, so I think it's 7 minutes in total. So what's the fun stuff about it? I want to share with you 2 stories. The first one is a race I shot in Sweden a year and a half ago, and I know the race organizer quite well, Michael Lindnord, and he asked me, you want to do the mountaineering section? You've been in the mountains before? I said, yeah, I'll do the mountaineering section. One thing he didn't tell me, it was about a 62-kilometer trek. Covered in it took me about 30 hours non-stop being out in the mountains. So yeah, he didn't tell me that up front, so I was sort of confronted. So okay, well, let's make it work. The odd thing about shooting in Sweden in the middle of summer is just literally like 24 hours a day. Generally now, darkness means downtime. You get to sleep, you get to edit, you get to do the stuff you do. But in Sweden, it's not. When it's light, you shoot, and when it's like 24 hours, you pretty much shoot 24 hours. You've got teams of 4, and this was a 1,000-kilometer race. Fastest team do it in 5 days, no sleep, and they mountain bike, kayak, rock climb, mountaineering, trekking, and it just go on non-stop. So it's well, everyone's got their passion, I guess. So these guys, they really enjoy it. So we shot the start of the race. We shot day one. Then we used the night, or whatever the night is, of the first night to drive towards the mountaineering section. So basically you have 1 hour sleep in the car, hiked in about 4:30 in the morning, well it's likely anyway. So we caught the first teams on the first glacier at about 9 o'clock in the morning. These guys get absolutely knackered, so they sleep anywhere, you know, on the side of the road, next to a hut. Really, really remote Sweden where we went to. It's on the border with Norway. It's actually one of the only places in Sweden where they've got glaciers. So, and I think the next shot is a shot. This is about midnight, going up a mountain, and you can shoot, you know, pretty much like it's daylight. So we went up to the mountains. Then I let the next team move on. Waited for a couple of hours. Got a little bit cold and shivery on top of the mountain. You know, you're carrying 12 kilos of photography equipment along. And then you got a little bit of water and a little bit of food, so there's no more space for sleeping bag. So the guy at the checkpoint, he was kind enough to, he saw me shivering, so I'll take my sleeping bag, and waited for an hour for the next team to come along. Literally, we had to cross the whole side of the mountain, which now has got sharp edges on either side. And you're doing that at 3 o'clock in the morning. So finally, when we reached the highest point, it must be about 4:35, and you look at the picture, it's like, no, this should be 8 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, it's just, you know, shooting continuously. So that's Sweden. One of the other type of races I shoot is what they call ultra-distance running. Guys go and run in the desert for 250 kilometers. Got 5 days, little backpack. They've got to carry everything they're going to eat and sleep, and just get a little bit of water along the way. So, so these guys run endless. From the outside, it looks a little bit strange. It's just, you know, once you're in it, it's just a certain feel. And I can remember shooting a race in the Gobi Desert in remote Western China. You spend, you know, 5 days or up to 10 days with, you know, some fantastic athletes, and you know, they will have blisters, they will have sore feet, they'll be bruised up, they can hardly walk. But the moment they got the finishing line, they forget all about it. You know, they instantly start running, and then the champagne comes out and the tears come out, and you can see here the national flag. And now shooting that finishing line is just such an emotional roller coaster. You've got such tears and joy coming out. That for me is sort of, you know, the highlight of the race. And then I always find it funny that, you know, they've been through this quite extreme adventure, and then 2 days later these guys are sitting in the office, and you know, what are they going to use to share and tell friends what they've been doing? So, so imagery, you know, they get hold of at the end of the race, you know, that's what they use. So there's great reward to the imagery you shoot. You know, you do a lot of commercial work, it ends up on a hard drive and no one ever looks at it sometimes. But if you do work like this, you know, you get blown out, you get enlargement, you end up on the wall, and it's these guys to tell their kids what they've been going, and maybe the kids tell their kids to the grandchildren. So this is what grandfather has done. So it's a great way to sort of now bring together some of their passion. Bring in my experience as a photographer, as well as my understanding and a passion for the sport. And races really feel that. It's the shared moments, it's the intimacy. If the relationship is good, they'll try to cooperate as much as they can. And you have to remember, this is adventure racing. And these guys are world champions in suffering. They're real endurance athletes that just keep on going no matter what. So how do you share this with the world? How do you explain this to the world? A true character in the field of adventure racing is gone mad.
and he's got a racing history that's endless, and he runs his own race out of the race called Primal Quest. So I've asked Don to explain what adventure racing is all about.
Well, adventure racing, what's nice about it, really anybody with any desire to do anything outdoors, it will attract their attention. It's really a series of multi-discipline sports, and typically those sports involve mountain biking, trekking, paddling, either a kayak or canoe, and climbing. And the 10-day events, you come to a place like Montana where Primal Quest is, and you'll have an incredible ropes course, you'll have hundreds of miles of trekking, hundreds of miles of bike riding. This Primal Quest being the biggest adventure race in the world, that's extreme to a lot of people. But adventure racing, to me, is the most exciting outdoor sport in the world. The gun goes off in the morning, and in Primal Quest 10 days later you come across the line, and when you sleep for those 2 or 3 hours a night, it's on the side of a trail, and there isn't any massage or sports treatment or nice meals and hotels in the evenings. You're just out there, you're carrying everything you need on your back, and it's very, very difficult and challenging. We call Primal Quest the world's most difficult human endurance event because we don't know of anything harder than this. Starting up, going up Long's Peak, which was 11,200 feet, glissading down the mountain, and then ending up at the river early in the morning to do a 25-mile paddle in a rubber boat that we call Duckies in Class 4 whitewater. It was the scariest whitewater paddling most everybody here has ever done. They flipped, they tipped, they got stuck, they had all sorts of problems, but once they got out of the whitewater for the paddle, we did a couple medical checks. We had 5 people with hypothermia. Temperatures went, instead of 98.6, which is normal for Fahrenheit, went down to 90. And we were concerned. We had 5 people very cold. We had to warm them up. And then everybody got on the river to do a swim, an 8-mile swim, which is even scarier than the whitewater paddle.
Aaron got stuck in a hole, kind of washed around upside down, and he was disoriented. Didn't know up from down, and actually his flippers were in the air. I could see him trying to swim, and he was trying, he's running out of breath, and he was kicking like his feet back and forth, struggling. Finally he figured out that he was upside down in the hole, and the hole kicked him out.
I had to get back in the water after I almost died. I felt like a washing machine. It wasn't a good feeling. So, but now I'm glad I had it. It's good to have those experiences and live.
We could still be friends. Oh, are you kidding me? What is she gonna point a fork stuck in the road?
Once they got to Jay Smith's rope section, it was an endurance climb, and for the first time in the sport's history, they had free climbing, 100 feet of free climbing in Jay's rope course, and then they went up to 1,000 feet, and it was an endurance climb. Some teams took over 10 hours to do this climb, and that's very difficult.
In the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life.
Okay, I've got the final climber from Team Bones on the line. Over.
So take the photographs and still frames in your mind. Hanging on Yabo!
The start will be at the Catberg Golf Estate on Saturday morning. We aim to start at 8 o'clock. Especially for our international visitors, just a brief outline in general of how we run events and what you can expect out there. Okay, regarding our checkpoints is compulsory to punch on your passport. The checkpoints is identified with a red and white square silver orienteering flag. at most of the checkpoints. You guys will be going through a lot of privately owned farms and game reserves. These farmers have got livestock, cattle and sheep and lots of game. If you leave open a gate, it's chaos. In the one game reserve there's buffalo. Don't piss off the buffalo. And there's also one section where you will be cycling to the Kai River where there is rhino. Don't play with the rhino's horn. There's also one place where there's a checkpoint next to a lion camp. Don't climb that fence.
So have you actually ever done one of these races yourself?
I've done shorter ones, one-day races, 24-hour races, so I've done shorter ones and other sport events, but I still have to sign up for one of these long ones. What happened? Hopefully soon.
Any questions in the audience? No?
Most scariest one.
That's a good question. Gotta find an answer for that. Scariest one. I think Sweden was pretty exposed. You know, the picture with the guy on top, you know, that was an exposed ridgeline on either side. At one stage they just have a vertical drop, and on the other side would be sort of a snowfield with you know, crevasses in it. And the odd thing is, well, you've not slept for 2 days. You know, because I came out of the mountains 32 hours after, so I think I skipped 2 nights and I did about 65 hours straight before I finally got to sleep. So you can't think straight, and that's where it gets a little bit hairy. But you know, safety numbers, you stick with the team, and you know, you pull each other through. That's the plan.
Next race?
So there's a race happening in Abu Dhabi, December, called the Abu Dhabi Adventure Challenge. Very similar, 5 days, very well organised, and they look after you very well. So I think it's 120k run through Liwa, followed by 180k kayak and Jebel Afit on ropes. So yeah, it's interesting. So that's next. And
good place to get some images for the Abu Dhabi 3 Rise competition.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that's it. And when I look at the world map, you know, there's still a lot of black spots in there, and they'll be filled up over time, definitely.
Great. Thank you so much, Wouter. Thank you.